Okay, so we are on the second class. We had the second class of Masechet Makkot, and we started last week by reading the Mishnah. I'm going to just open the Mishnah. Everybody, you have it in front of you. And today we're also going to go forward into the Gemara. But first, just a couple of notes on the Mishnah. Okay? Okay, so here's what you have to understand. We're dealing here with Oidim Zomemim, false witnesses. And it's a very special type of false witnesses because these are false witnesses that we establish as a fact that they had premeditation. They were not just false witnesses, but Zomem. Zomem means that he had a very particular and intentional state of mind. Okay. Now this false witness, there's two dimensions to the laws of Eidim Zomemi, and I like to explain what the two dimensions are. The first dimension is Shalom Aleichem. There's where are the books? Yeah, over there. Good. The first dimension is the question of process. Shalom Aleichem. Take a book in front of you. There's more Gemariot. Show them where it's on the left side, all the way on the left, third shelf from the top. There you go. Right. So the question of process, that's the first dimension of Eidim Zomemim. The second dimension of Eidim Zomemim is the question of punishment. So those are two separate dimensions. And let me explain to you what I mean. So when I talk about Eidim Zomemim, the process, the question is, what is it judicially that turns a witness into an Eid Zomem, right? Not just into a false witness, but into a false witness who's designated as a witness who had premeditated evil intent. That's called an Eid Zomem. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Dweck. Right. Okay, so that's one dimension. The other dimension is the punishment. We know what the punishment is. An Eid Zomem, the Pasuk says, Va'asitem lo, ka'asher zamam la'asot la'achiv. The Eid Zomem gets the punishment that he was planning on bringing upon the defendant. So let's say he accused the defendant of committing an act for which the punishment is death penalty. We take the death penalty and we give it to the Eid Zomem, right? So that's the Eidim, that's the laws of Eidim Zomem. So there's two separate dimensions, the process and the punishment. And here's the point. The Mishnah starts with the word kesad. Kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim, right? Now, when it's saying kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim, is it referring to the process? What is the process through which, judicially, what has to take place in court for an Eid to become an Eid Zomem? Is that the question? Or is the question, what is the punishment? Well, that's an interesting question. We know that later on, the Mishnah, this is on Daf He, is going to deal explicitly with the process. So therefore, what is this Mishnah dealing with? It's dealing with the punishment. Okay, so when the Mishnah says, Kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim, it's asking a very specific question. What is the punishment that an Eid Zomem gets? You understand? That's the meaning of the question. Kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim. Okay. So
why would they not word it? I mean, obviously the content shows that it's about the punishment.
Correct.
But you would think they would word it Kesad Na'inshim Eidim Zomemim.
Right.
Na'inshim sounds like it's the process.
Right. So Kesad means what is the consequence of the Eidim Ne'esim Zomemim? What is the consequence of that? So once we give them the legal designation of Eid Zomem, what consequences does that bring? So what? Kesad means so what that they're Eidim Zomemim, right? All right, so that's one thing. That's the first thing I want to say about the Mishnah before we go into the Gemara, because we are going to go into the Gemara, but there was a few points I wanted to refine. So Kesad is talking about the punishment. It's not talking about the process. The process will be explicitly dealt with later. Okay, now let's read the Mishnah. Kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim. Case number one. Me'idim anu be'ish peloni. The witnesses come and they testify. This man, the defendant, Shu ben Gerusha. What does ben Gerusha mean? He is a Kohen, but the accusation is that his mother was a divorcee when she gave birth to him, right? Now, this has to do with family status. And in Jewish law, there is a Yerushalmi in Masechet Terumot that says family status is determined by the Bet Din. The Bet Din determines family status. For example, a Kohen is going to want to eat terumah. Who is he? How do we know he gets to eat terumah? He has to come to the Bet Din, and the Bet Din has to investigate the matter. He brings Aidim, and however the Bet Din deals with that. So they deal with family status, and to change somebody's family status, you need a Bet Din. So these Aidim are coming to the Bet Din, and they're saying this person's family status needs to be changed. He is a Kohen, but his mother was a divorcee, therefore he should be designated as a halal. Okay, that's number one. How do we punish this person? Well, he's just a ayed. What are we going to do to him now? That's a question the Mishnah is dealing with. Next one, Oben halusa. Here's an important point. What is a halusa again? I'm just going to review quickly. Woman is married to Reuven. Reuven dies. They have no children. The brother of Reuven, Shimon, has now the option. He either marries the widow, or he does halisa. And the halisa basically releases her. Here's the question that I'm asking now, and see if you can answer the question. What is the status of this widow? Now, if you say that she is a widow, she can marry a Kohen, because a Kohen is allowed to marry a widow. If you say she's a divorcee, she may not marry a Kohen, because a Kohen may not marry a divorcee. So what's her status? Let's think about this. Well, clearly she's a widow because her first husband died. She had the opportunity to marry the brother, but the brother decided not to. When the brother made the decision not to marry her, does that turn her into a divorcee? That's the question. And the answer is, de oraita, she is not a divorcee. De oraita, a halusa, has the status of a widow. But the hachamim, rabbinic legislation, decreed that this halusa is considered a divorcee. So again, de oraita, she's muteret, lisa kohen. But de rabbanan, asura, lisa kohen. Okay, that's the status of ben halusa. Now, there's a question that's asked, and here we're going to have a machlokut in Harambam, in the Mishneh Torah, and some of the other hachamim. So let me tell you what that's about. Ramban and Ritva, they look at this word, and they say, Me'idim anu beish pelonishu ben gerusha u ben halusa. That's a problem, they say. Why is it a problem? Well, if ben halusa is only forbidden derabanan, right? Then what did they do? What did these witnesses do? The pasuk says, "Va'asitem lo," you should do to the witnesses, "Kasher zamam la'asot le'achiv." But from the Torah, they didn't plan to do anything le'achiv, because from the Torah, this person, even according to their testimony, this person is 100% kosher. Their testimony was a meaningless testimony. The oraita, he's still mutar. You understand the question of Haramban and the Ritba?
It can only be if the testimony has to be against the Doraita.
Right, and because the pasuk, it's a pasuk from the Torah that says, "Va'asitem lo kasher zamam, lo asu lo kasher, lo asu lo shum davar." I'm sorry, lo zamam la'asot shum davar le'achim, because the testimony shul ben halusa is an irrelevant testimony. The oraita. That's what the Ramban and the Ritba say, right?
So Rabbanan is like treating chalitza like a get.
Right, that's correct. The Rabbanan, it's like correct, 100%. So the Ramban and the Ritba, they say that really, when the Mishnah said ben gerusha or ben halusa, it's not to be taken literally. I'm going to explain it. I want to make sure you understand this point, because it's a subtle point. When it says ben gerusha, meaning if the witnesses come and say he's a ben gerusha, okay, obviously that's the law of edzomem, not even a question. But if the witnesses say ben halusa, no, that's not the law of edzomem. And that's the way they make Pesach. They make Pesach halacha, that if witnesses come to the court and they say this person is a ben halusa, his mom was halusa, that's an irrelevancy. No, we don't do anything to the Eidim Zomemim. Why? Because their testimony was meaningless. That's why Ramban and Ritba make Pesach halacha. So then the Mishnah? So you're saying it's against the Mishnah? They say it's not against the Mishnah. There's many cases where the Mishnah just follows this particular formulas in the Mishnah, and many cases the Mishnah just brings an entire formula, even though not every element in the formula is applicable to the law in this case. I will give you the example here. Ashigra delishana nakat. That's what the Ramban and the Ritba says. Let me explain this to you, because I know this is very foreign to the Western mind, and I will explain it to you based on Igelet Sherira Gaon and based on my father's golden doves and silver dots. I will explain it to you now. When Rabbeinu HaKadosh edited the Mishnah, he had a mass of halachot, a mass of material from which to draw upon to create the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. And because there was such a massive amount of material, Rabbeinu HaKadosh was very particular in the following way. He condensed the Mishnah as much as possible, and oftentimes he chose phraseology in the Mishnah that was very easy to remember by heart. Why would he do that? Golden Doves and Silver Dots, my father's great book, and Igelet Sherira Gaon, but Golden Doves and Silver Dots in chapter 4 says, the reason Rabbeinu HaKadosh would sometimes choose imprecise language that was easy to remember by heart is because everybody had to study the Mishnayot by heart. And it's an incredible mental task to study the Mishnayot by heart. It's part of the Torah Shebe'al Peh. So sometimes there's particular phrases in the Mishnah that these phrases appear, but they're not very precise. And my father brings many examples in the book. I don't want to bring those examples now because it's not, it's not 100% germane to what we're studying. I just want you to understand the Shita of the Ramban and the Ritva. How can they say that when the Mishnah says Ben Gerusha, Ben Halusa, you shouldn't take the word Ben Halusa seriously? And the answer is because the word Ben Gerusha, Ben Halusa appears over and over and over again in the Mishnah. So Rabbeinu HaKadosh chose a phraseology, right? Even though in this case one of the elements in the phrase, namely Ben Halusa, is irrelevant. That's the point of the Ramban and the Ritva. By the way, it's a sharp point. But here's the thing.
Do the rabbis have the right to say, okay, so Dabran, we're going to impose Makkot?
Okay. So here's the thing. If you open up Maimonides, Hilchot Edut, Perek Kaf Halacha Het, in Hilchot Edut, Rambam says that if a person is me'id, that this guy is a Ben Halusa, he's an Eid Zomem. Meaning, Rambam takes us seriously. Harambam says when it says Ben Gerusha, it means Ben Gerusha. And when it says Ben Halusa, it means Ben Halusa. It's not just following a particular phraseology and just throwing it in. That's not the case. Harambam says, again, according to Harambam, an ayat comes into a court, he says, that Kohen, his mom was a Halusa. The person who said it is an Eid Zomem. And later on we find out he was lying, of course. The person who said it is an Eid Zomem, and we give him the punishment of an Eid Zomem. Now, my father brought a beautiful re'ayah, Leshitat Rambam, and I'm going to just get the Tosefta. Give me a moment. It's here. The Tosefta in Masechet Makkot, the end of the first chapter of Masechet Makkot. Here it is. I'm reading to you the Tosefta, and you'll see what the problem is with the Shita of the Ramban and the Ritva, and why Harambam makes Pesach Halacha, that here, when it says Ben Halusa, it's not Ashigra Delishana Lakat. No, that's not the case. And here's what the Tosefta says. Molim Chachamim L'Rabbi Meir, She'im He'iduhu She'u Ben Gerusha. If the witnesses come and say he's Ben Gerusha, where does that appear in our Mishnah? Or Ben Halusa, where does that appear in our Mishnah? Natin, another category. Mamzer, another category. Shehem lokim et ha'arba'im. So what do you see from this Tosefta? What you see from this Tosefta is that when the Mishnah chose Ben Gerusha, Ben Halusa, it wasn't just following a phraseology, because the Tosefta continues the list, and that's not part of the phraseology. So this is why Harambam, and I know you guys are going to have to listen to this a couple of times on YouTube to understand what I just said, which is okay, but this is why Harambam makes Pesach that if an Eid Zomem is Me'id, that the person has been Halusa, he becomes an Eid. If an Eid makes the testimony, then he becomes an Eid Zomem, we give him the punishment of the Eid Zomem. Okay, that's what I wanted to say on the first part of the Mishnah. Yes, sir?
Do we ever see a clear case where language is explicitly mentioned in the Mishnah, and it turns out that language is not at all to be...
Many cases.
It's imprecise, it doesn't exactly fit the category.
Numerous.
It's just totally...
Numerous cases.
Invalid halakhically.
Yeah, numerous cases. Look at Golden Doves chapter 4 in the introduction to chapter 4. He brings so many cases. He brings from Masechet Pesachim, where the Mishnah says Asur be'achila, and it really means Asur be'hana'ah. And it's a question of, again, Rabbeinu HaKadosh chose imprecise, not all the time, but sometimes, if he had a choice between choosing a linguistic formula that's easier to remember and choosing a linguistic formula that's more precise, he would choose one that's easier to remember. That's the chidush of the Mishnayot. But that's why the Mishneh Torah is not like the Mishnayot. But ever try to study Mishneh Torah Be'al Peh? I did. Now, I used to study Mishnayot Be'al Peh. Mishnayot Be'al Peh is easy. Try to study Mishneh Torah Be'al Peh. It's really tough. It's really tough. Okay? And that's because Mishneh Torah was not interested in writing a book for people to study by heart. He was interested in writing a book that is very, very precise to every single word was chosen precisely. Not that Rabbeinu HaKadosh didn't do that, but Rabbeinu HaKadosh would oftentimes compromise precision of law for ease of memory quickly.
So over here it says the language is Eidim Zomim.
Yeah.
That's plural.
Yeah.
So do you need two witnesses?
Right, because in Jewish law, in order to establish a judicial fact, you need two witnesses. Less than two witnesses, it is not a fact. So it's always going to be two witnesses, okay?
So what if one witness is premeditated?
Right, no. We're going to deal with these issues later. We'll deal with these issues. The Gemara will deal with the different permutations and combinations and so on.
The million-dollar question: did your father use this as an example, as one of the?
No, he didn't bring this as an example. I mean, he brought many examples, but this was not one of them. But that's a nice point. Okay.
It's your book.
Okay.
Even the example of Kislev versus Hana'ah,
Yeah.
it's still Asur be'achila, it's just that
Yeah.
it's not super precise.
Right, but it should have said Asur behana'ah, because if Asur behana'ah, it's Asur ba'achila. If it says Asur ba'achila, the implication is that it's Mutar behana'ah.
Right,
Right.
but Ben, when you say Ben Harusa, according to the opinion of Rabban Ridva, it's not imprecise, it's totally wrong.
Right, yeah, granted, I hear you. And I have to think about the examples to it, because I understand the question you're asking. It's a good question. Maybe we'll look at the Golden Doves and check that out. Okay, so again, normally, when you have an Eid Zomem, what is the punishment that you give to an Eid Zomem? You do to the Eid Zomem what he wanted to do to the defendant. But in this case, what are you going to do? You're going to take the Eid Zomem and say, your legal status, you are now considered a halal. You might not even be a kohen. He says, whoopsie doodle, make me a halal. I don't really, it's like, that's meaningless. So therefore, we give him Malkut Arba'im, we lash him. Okay? That's what we do in this case. It's an anomalous case. Continuing. Case number 2 in the Mishnah. Now we're to case number 2. Me'ivim anu be'ish peloni shehu hayav liglot. So the witnesses come to court. They don't say this defendant has to go to galut. Rather, they say this defendant is guilty of a crime for which the punishment would be galut. And I will explain that again. We're going to have a whole chapter that discusses this very question. What is the crime? The crime is negligent homicide. In Jewish law, if somebody kills negligently, negligent homicide, he goes to exile. And we'll discuss that, what that means. Okay, back now to the laws of Edim Zomimim. Witnesses come to court. They say this person is guilty of negligent homicide. And then it ends up they were lying. We prove they were lying. They become Edim Zomimim. We don't send them to exile. Again, that would be meaningless to send them to exile, because the whole point of the exile was to protect the defendant, to protect the murderer from the family of the victims, right? So no, we don't send them to exile. What do we do? אין אומרים מגלזת תחתיו, אלא לוקה את הארבעים. Okay, that's what I wanted to bring to you from the Mishnah. I now want to start the Gemara. Okay? So here goes. After I say beracha on the water. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam shekol hem barach. By the way, just a note about the Mishnayot. Here we have it broken up. The Mishnayot are broken up. This is the Vilna edition. If you look at the old manuscripts, for example, in my house, in my parents' house where I grew up, and we have many manuscripts of ancient Gemariot. So we have, for example, the Munich manuscript. If you look at the Munich manuscript, what they do is they have the entire chapter of the Mishnayot brought all in one lump, not like here where you have this, for beginning of the chapter 1 is on Daf Bet. Then the Mishnah continues later on Daf Gimel, and then, so there it's all brought at one solid chunk, and the Gemara is brought as commentary around the Mishnah. Really quite interesting to see that, but later on when the Vilna Shas was put together, they obviously stopped that, and they did it as they did it. But I wanted to make you aware that even though we finished this first Mishnah, in the earlier manuscripts, they would study the entire first chapter of Mishnayot, and then they would go to the Gemara. Okay? That was just important to understand that. All right, let's now do the Gemara. Here goes. I'm going to read it to you. After I read it, I want to tell you that there is a imprecision in the girsa, in the Gemara we have before us is less precise than some of the older Gemarayot. So I will also bring to you the more precise version. But first, let me read as it appears, as the text appears to us now. Okay, Gemara. הכסד אין העדים נעשים זוממים מבעלה ועוד כתקתנה לקמן אבל אמרו להם איך אתם מעיבים שהרי באותו היום הייתם עמנו במקום פלוני הרי אלו זוממים מכלל דאלו אין זוממים. That's the Gemara, that's the text of the Gemara as it appears before us. I'm now going to explain the meaning of the text, and then I'm going to give you the more precise version of the text, the more precise girsa. But first let me explain the question. The Gemara starts with the following question. It would have been more appropriate for the Mishnah to start with the following sentence. Kesad, look at the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says, Kesad ha'edim nesim zomemim. That question is imprecise. The Mishnah should have started with the following question. Kesad en ha'edim nesim zomemim. The Mishnah should have asked, give me an example of where the edim do not become zomemim. Because the example that the Mishnah brings are examples of where the edim do not become zomemim. Okay, let me explain this. Let's go back how I started this class. And I started this class as I did for a reason. There are two dimensions to edim zomemim. One dimension is the procedure. The other dimension is the punishment. The dimension of the procedure, how do the edim become zomemim? What transforms a witness who comes to court? What procedure takes place that later on this witness is designated as an Eid Zomem? We didn't study that later. But that's going to be dealt with explicitly. So what can this Mishnah be talking about? Well, it has to be talking about the punishment. Only one problem. Eidim Zomemim, the punishment is they get a punishment that they wanted to inflict upon the defendant. Well, here the Mishnah brings examples of punishments where he doesn't get what he wanted to inflict upon the defendant, but rather he gets something very anomalous. So therefore, the question in the Mishnah should have been as follows: Ha'ke'esad en ha'edim nesim zomemim nev'aleh. Should have asked, give us an example of edim that do not become zomemim, that don't get the punishment. Va'asitem lo kasher zamam la'asot le'achiv. Understand? Furthermore, and here you see the word mitkataneh. If you look at the Ritba, he doesn't bring mid kataneh. He says kid kataneh. Okay, and that's really important because it just makes so much more sense. And I got to tell you, when I first studied this Gemara, I was like, I was looking at this word mitkataneh lekaman, and like my eyes were glazing over. I was having some difficulty understanding it. And then when I saw the Girsa of the Ritba, it was like, now I understand. Ve'od kitkataneh lekamanhu. He adds the word hu. Again, the Girsa, the version of the Ritba in the Gemara. Of course, the Ritba was one of the early Hachamim of Spain. He was in the days of the Rosh. Great Talmid Hacham. He should have, he would have been the chief rabbi in Castilla, but they ended up taking the Rosh. But whatever, that's another story why that happened. But he was certainly one of the great Hachamim. And that's the version of the Gemara. So he had ancient versions of the Gemara, the Ritba, and many times you see what he brings. So he says, Ve'od kitkataneh lekamanu. Furthermore, the matter of edim zomemim is dealt with later. Meaning, if you want to tell me that this Mishnah is talking about process, well, you can't say that, because later on, there is a Mishnah that deals with process, and here is that Mishnah. And now we're reading it. The Mishnah says as follows. This is in Daf He Amud Aleph, in this Masechet. If the Eidim come and they say, okay, so a scenario, Reuven and Shimon, set number one, pair number one of Eidim, they come and they say, we saw this defendant, he's Mechalel Shabbat. Okay. Set number two of Eidim, this is the process. I still didn't teach you the process, now you're going to hear the process. A second set of Edim come and they say, hey, hold on. How can you be testifying about the defendant? At the time of the crime, you said the crime was Sunday, afternoon, at 1 o'clock. At the time of the crime, you were with us. At the time of the alleged crime, you were with us. You could not have possibly witnessed the crime. Let me give you an example. Okay. Pair number one of witnesses say, we saw Friday night, this defendant was lighting a fire. Okay. Pair number two witnesses, they say, wait, where did you see him? He was in Manhattan Beach. We were in Manhattan Beach. We saw him lighting a fire. So the second pair of witnesses say, that can't be, because you were with us in Miami, Florida Friday night, and we were, eating lahm bajin, by the pool, right? So you could not have possibly seen the defendant lighting a fire in Manhattan Beach. You were with us in Miami, Florida. That's the process. That's the process, and the process is discussed explicitly. So if the process is discussed explicitly several pages forward, this Mishnah cannot be talking about process. So what is this Mishnah talking about? Punishment. And if it's talking about punishment, we come back to the question, why does the Mishnah say, how do the Eidim become Zomemim? Rather, the Mishnah should have asked, how don't the Eidim become Zomemim? Okay? I'm going to read it one more time.
The Ve'od is part of the question.
I'm sorry?
This whole part is part of the question saying,
yeah, the odd.
don't tell me it's process because I know it's not process.
Exactly. The odd means don't tell me it's process, because it's already further down in the Gemara. It explicitly deals with process, so this can't be dealing with process. Exactly. They're closing the potential answer. Oh, it's dealing with process. Don't give me that answer. Don't play that game with me, right? Right. Yes, correct. Okay. So we're going to read, I'm just reading it again, and then we're going to look at the answer of the Gemara. Okay. So hold on one second. I'm sorry. I like looking at my notes. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm reading it again. אבל אמרו להם, איך אתם מעידים, שהרי באותו היום הייתם עמנו במקום פלוני, הרי אלו זוממים. So that's the question. Why did the Mishnah say, how do the Edim become zomimim? And here's the answer. Tana hatamka. Okay. Before I even explain that phrase, I think it's almost unanimously agreed. Certainly it's my father's opinion, but I think anybody who's a scholar of Talmud will agree that this is from the Savaraitic period. Tana hatam ka'eh is a classic Savaraitic phrase, okay? Just so you understand, the Talmud was edited by the Hachamim known as Emoraim, right? The Amoraitic period ended. Ravina and Rav Asher, they're the ones who finalized the editing of the Talmud. The period after the Amoraitic period is called the period of the Sevoraim. Sevoraitic period was after. Now what happened? When the Sevoraim studied Gemara, oftentimes they would write notes on the side of the Gemara. And then future editions of the Gemara, they would take the notes that were on the side and they would transplant them into the Gemara as if though it was part of the Gemara. Right, so that's called the Savoraitic. So this particular phrase, Tana Hatam Ka'eh, is from the Sevoraim. So we know that this particular discussion we're having is Savoraitic in nature. Just so you know that, okay? Just, again, it's important when you study Talmud, you understand there's different layers in the text. So I just gave you one of the layers in the text. All right.
So is that a key term that anytime you see Tana, Hatam Ka'eh, or
Yes.
Tana this, Tana
Yes.
that, will be
Tana Hatam Ka'eh is a classic Sevoraitic phrase. Correct. So if you see that particular phrase in the Talmud, it is from the Sevoraim.
So the whole discussion that's coming up now is all from them?
Yes, correct.
So here it says it refers to Sanhedrin 89a.
Yes, exactly right. That's now I'm going to explain.
Before that, what's Miklad? The Enzum mean? Why is that in parentheses? What is that?
Oh, right. That's not part of the original Girsah. That's part of the new Girsah. But if you look at the Ritba, Mikelal, again, the old Girsah was a bit. The syntax of the old Girsah was a little difficult for me to understand. So I'm not going to break your head and try to tell you what that Girsah means because I just made it easy for you. I just gave you the Girsah of the Ritba and taught you the Gemara according to the Girsah of the Ritba, which is the simplest approach and it's the one that makes sense. I always like, there's a principle in science, it's called Occam's razor. Just always go for the simplest solution to any problem in scientific thinking. And I say also similarly in the Gemara. So Occam's razor, you can check that up on Wikipedia. I'm sure it's there somewhere. Although I learned it when I was in college, but I still. Okay. So, answer to the question. Tana Hatam Ka'eh. What does Tana Hatam Ka'eh means? I will give you the. Let me cut right to the more precise approach to this phrase, but then I will later on give you the slightly less precise approach, humbly, but that's okay. We can take opinions when we study Gemara. Tana, the Tana of this Mishnah, meaning the author of this Mishnah, or the one reciting this Mishnah to be more precise, Hatam Ka'eh. He was in another place. Hatam means there. Ka'eh means he was. So he was in another place. So when he was reciting this particular Mishnah, he was there. What does that mean, he was there? It means he was alluding to another place. And this Mishnah can only be understood within the context of that other place. Okay, let me explain this to you because I'm going to make it all very concrete. Does anybody know how the Gemara in Masechet Berachot starts? The Gemara in Masechet Berachot starts in the first chapter. Thank you. So the Gemara starts, the Mishnah starts with a question. When do we start reading Kriyat Shema at night? And the Gemara says, wait, hold on 1 second. What do you mean, when do we start reading Kriyat Shema at night? Who says you even have to read Kriyat Shema? Start, build a story, Don't just start a story in the middle, like you're watching a movie and the movie starts in the middle and like, well, what's going on here? So the Gemara says that where is the Tana located? What's his context, his mental context, when he starts a question? Where is he when he asks that question? And the answer is the pasuk in the Torah. The pasuk in the Torah explicitly says that you have to read Kriyat Shema twice, once at night, once in the daytime. So based upon that mental context that the pasuk says you have to read Kriyat Shema twice, the question is a proper question. And when is it that you have to read the Kriyat Shema at night? And when is it that you have to read the Kriyat Shema in the morning? What are the times? Give me the times. So that's the context of that Mishnah. Similarly here, when our Mishnah says Kesad ha'edim ne'esim zomemim, there's a context to that. And what is that context? And now we're going to see what the context is. The context is as follows. כל הזוממין מקדימין לאותה המיתה, חוץ מזוממי בת כהן ובועלה, שאין מקדימין לאותה המיתה, אלא למיתה אחרת. I'm reading it. I'm going to explain it. Right now I'm reading it. ויש עדים זוממים אחרים, שאין עושים בהן דין הזמה כל עיקר, אלא מלכות 40. כיצד? מעידים אנו באיש פלוני שהוא בן גרושה או בן חלוסה, אין אומרים יעשה זה בן גרושה או בן חלוסה תחתיו, אלא לוקח את 40. Okay. The context. What was the context of our Mishnah? And the answer is, if you go to the end of Masechet Sanhedrin, the previous Masechet is Masechet Sanhedrin. And for those of you who've been following on YouTube or were here last week, you remember what I said? I said that Masechet Makkot was considered part of Masechet Sanhedrin, right? Although, according to the Bavli, no. According to the Babylonian Talmud, it's not part of the thing. And Bavli Harambam explicitly says that Masechet Makkot is separate. I will read that to you in a moment. Give me a moment. Put that on the side for now. But the point is that Masechet Sanhedrin formally ends beperek Elohen HaNechelakin. It ends on that chapter. Look at Rashi. He also brings it. I'm going to read Rashi because it's important that you understand. The additional chapter in Masechet Sanhedrin, Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelek Le'olam Haba, is not germane to the Masechet. So let me read to you what Rashi says about Masechet Sanhedrin. Misanhedrin Salik. Ditnan Beshilhe Elohen HaNechelakin. In the Mishnah, in the last chapter of Masechet Sanhedrin, and again, when I'm saying the last chapter of Masechet Sanhedrin, I mean the last formal chapter of Masechet Sanhedrin. I know that there's another chapter called Perek Hailek. Okay, Deusi Umad Sanhedrin. Look what Rashi says. This is considered the end of Sanhedrin, not the chapter that we have as Kol Yisrael Yeshar G'lan Haba. That's an addition, right? So why did I bring this to you? So in Masechet Sanhedrin, the end of Masechet Sanhedrin, it brings the following case. It's a case of Edim Zomemim. And it says, Chol HaZomemin Makdimin Le'ota Mita. Every Ed Zomem, they get the death penalty that they wish to impose upon the defendant. Because in Jewish law, there's 4 types of capital punishment. Serefa, Sekila, Hereg, Vaheneg. So what death penalty do we give to the Eid Zomem? The answer is Makdimin Le'ota Mita. What does it mean Le'ota Mita? To the exact death penalty they wish to impose upon the defendant. I love the word Makdimin. There's many of the Haronim, they ask a question, what does Makdimin mean? But if you think about the sense of humor of our Hachamim, a little Arabic, so we had a sense of humor. So Makdimin, how do you say when you start a meal like Friday night? You say Tfadalu. What does Tfadalu mean? Bechavod, right? So it's a sense of humor of the Hachamim. the Eidim Zomemim, they wanted
We're gonna
to.
honor him with this.
No, please, you first. They wanted to give the guy death penalty. No, bechavot, please, makdimin, you go first, right? So we execute him. I like my father's explanation because it conforms very nicely with the sense of humor of our Chachamim, which is probably the sense of humor of these Chachamim as well. So makdimin leotamita. So it's a beautiful, beautiful expression. And there's also a deeper subtext when it says makdimin leotamita. It's also very precise. So it's comical, but it's also precise. It's precise because we said in the last week that if the Edim Zomemim were successful, right? If they were successful and they caused the defendant to get executed, we won't execute the Edim Zomemim. Remember we said that last week? So makdimin means you go first. What does it mean you go first? Well, yeah, that's before the other one happened. So you go first. Okay, you see that point? That's important. Okay. But nevertheless, let me explain to you. So kol ha-zomemim makdimin otamita chutz is one exception. There's one exception. Mizomeme bat kohenu bo'alaha. If a person accuses the daughter of a kohen of committing adultery. Let me explain to you the law of adultery. If a regular situation, I'm saying regular non bat kohen, just a regular bat Yisrael, chas v'shalom, commits adultery. If she's arusa, let's say engaged, the death penalty is sakila. If she's nesu'ah, meaning married, fully married, the death penalty is haine, right? Okay, that's in the case of regular women. But if she's a bat kohen and she's a nesu'ah, the death penalty is not haine. The death penalty is serefa, right? Because she's desecrating the name of her father. So it's very, very severe. She's a bat kohen, and she acts in this terrible way. So that's serefa, which is much worse. By the way, as I told you, I just don't want anybody to now take this video and say, "Oh, look at Jews are fanatic." As I told you, it's so difficult to actually implement capital punishment in Judaism. I mean, it's just incredible how hard it is, in order to have the conditions to actually execute somebody. But that's put that on the side. Let's go back to the Gemara. Here's an interesting question. So what's the death penalty for the Bat Kohen? Shezinta? Serefa. What about the husband? Not the husband. The husband Chazit, he's a victim. What about the sinner? The perpetrator. The male perpetrator. Normally he gets Hanek. She gets Hanek. He gets Hanek. If it's a Bat Kohen, she gets Serefa, but he still gets Hanek. Here's the question that this is dealing with. Let's say Edim Zomemim come and they accuse this Bat Kohen and this man of having committed adultery. That's the accusation. Now, according to that accusation, she would get Serefa. He would get Hanek. Okay, so there's two punishments that we could be giving the Edim Zomemim. Normally, by the way, always you give the more severe punishment. When there's two punishments, you give the more severe punishment. Which would mean that the Edim Zomemim would get Serefa. But no, they get Hanek. That's a chidush. Again, Kol ha-zomemim makdimin le'otam mita, the one exception to the rule that the Zomemim get the punishment that they wanted to inflict upon the defendants is here. Hus mizomeme bat kohen u'bo'ala she'en makdimin le'otam mita ela lemita acheret. They get a different mita acheret, which they get Hanek. She would have gotten Serefa, but they would give the Edim Zomemim Hanek, not the Serefa that they were going to give the Bat Kohen. You understand the point of the Mishnah? And the Mishnah, and now, based upon that Mishnah, in the context of that Mishnah is talking about Edim Zomemim. And it first gives us the general rule. The general rule is punishment that was going to be on the defendant goes to the Edim Zomemim. Then it gives us a slight deviation. What's a slight deviation? Here that each defendant would have gotten a different punishment. One would have gotten Serefa, the other would get Hanek. Okay, so here's the deviation. You give him Hanek. Normally, according to the standard juridical rules, he would get Serefa. Okay, and now you get an even greater deviation. And what is that greater deviation in our Mishnah? ויש עדים זוממים אחרים. There are other עדים that are considered עדים זוממים, שאין עושים בהם דין הזמה. We don't give them the same punishment, כל עיקר, at all. There is no relationship between the punishment that you give the עד זומם and the punishment that the defendant would have gone in. אלא מלכות 40, they get lashing. That's the context for our Mishnah. Kesad, and here's the Mishnah. Our Mishnah, Me'idim anu beish peloni shu ben gerusha or ben chalusa, en omerin ya'aseh ze ben gerusha or ben chalusa tahtav. You see, that's the beginning. That's a Sevaraitic. This whole thing was a Sevaraitic introduction to the Gemara, and this is what we're going to do today. I still have a couple points I want to say because we do have about 7 minutes. But the point is, let me just give you the summary of the Sevaraitic introduction. I'll give you the summary. Just take you step by step. We started out with the Mishnah. Kesad Eidim Ne'esim Zomemim. Right. What? There's only 2 explanations to Kesad Eidim Ne'esim Zomemim. What is the process through which Eidim can become Zomemim? That's not what this our Mishnah is talking about. That's going to be dealt with later, explicitly. So our Mishnah is talking about the punishment. Show me what happens to Eidim Zomemim. And the Gemara says, well, you're starting out with the anomalous situations. That's strange. You shouldn't start out with the anomalous situations. Before you give me the exceptions to the rule, give me the rule. That's the point. The point of that is a clever question. It's not, we don't care so much as why the Mishnah says Kesad Eidim Nesim or En Nesim. The point is, start with the general rule. If you're writing a book, of rules, you don't start the exception is this, and now let me give you that doesn't work like that. So they're saying, no. You're right. We have the general rule. The general rule was already given to us at the end of Perek Elu Hena Nechinakin. And in the context of that discussion, we started deviating and giving some exceptions to the general rule. And this is a further exception to the general rule. So if you put it in that context, the Mishnah makes sense. Okay, that's the Sevaraitic introduction. Next week when we study it, we're actually going to be studying the actual text of the Gemara. But first I want to make a couple of points that are equally important. And it's as follows. Let me just make my points, please, and then I will take some questions. People come to Harambam and they ask a question against Harambam. Let me show you what Harambam writes in Hakdamat Perusha Mishnayot. But I love Harambam. I really think that Hashem sends. We're studying the book of Shemuel Wednesday nights. Hashem sent Shemuel to save the Jewish people. I think Hashem sent Harambam to save Am Yisrael over generations, thousands of years now. Well over 1,000 years. Right, or no, maybe I'm wrong. Close to 1,000 years. I'm sorry. Nevertheless, it will be for thousands of years that Harambam would have saved us as history unfolds. Nevertheless, let me read to you the Hakdamat Perusha, which is everything Harambam wrote is simply a gem. It's simply gems. It's like each book is like a treasure chest. So anyway, in the Hakdamat Perusha Mishnayot, there's a section in the Hakdamat Perusha Mishnayot where Harambam discusses the relationships between the various Masechtot. Why did this Masechet follow that Masechet? And why after that Masechet did we have this Masechet? So he brings you the whole order of the Masechtot. And he says here, let me find it. He brings Masechet Sanhedrin, which is a Masechet right before Masechet Makkot. And then he says, Aval Masechet Makkot, בכמה העתקות היא מחוברת למסכת סנהדרין ונחשבת עימה. I've seen versions of the Gemara where Masechet Makkot is part of Masechet Sanhedrin. That's what I've seen, says Harambam. שכיוון שאמר אלו הן הנחנקים, since Masechet Sanhedrin ends with אלו הן הנחנקים, just like Rashi, right? There's just some basic things that you understand the Gemara and you get it, right? So just like Rashi, since Masechet Sanhedrin ends with Elohen HaNechinakin, the capital punishment, Hismichu lo ve'Elohen Halukim. The end, Zenachon. Harambam says, this, I'm sorry, I misread the Mechila. Hismichu lo ve'Elohen Halukim. So according to the editions of the Talmud where Masechet Makkot is part of Masechet Sanhedrin, right? These are the people who get capital punishment, and part of that Masechet is, and these are the people who get a lashing. The Enzen Achot.
Order of the chapters in Makkot?
Yeah, well, no, the orders of the chapters in Masechet Sanhedrin, meaning in Masechet Sanhedrin.
Isn't that the last one of isn't that the last chapter of Makkot?
Right, exactly. And he's saying, and then the continuation of that after we have.
This is the beginning.
Right. No. Elu Elokeinu was part of was part of Sanhedrin, but he's saying that Makkot was part of that discussion, and it was Makkot is part of the discussion of Elu Elokeinu, right? So Rambam says this is not correct. Elahi Masechta Bifnei Asma. That's not correct. Masechet Makkot is a separate Masechet, just like it appears in the Talmud Bavli. So now the question is, why was Masechet Makkot brought after Masechet Sanhedrin? Lefi she'en malkin ve'onshin el hadayanin, because the malkut and the punishments are the sole prerogative of the bet din. Only the bet din can inflict these types of punishments. So the relationship between Sanhedrin is it's dealing with the punishments that only the bet din can inflict, and Makkot also deals with punishments that only the bet din could inflict. והוא מאמר השם, והפילו השופט, והיכהו לפניו, כדי לשעתו במשפט, 40 יקנו לא יוסיף, פן ירבה לחכותו על אלה, ונקרא אחיך לעיניך. That's the continuation of the Pesukim. Now, why is this important? People ask a question against Rambam. What's the question they ask against Rambam? They say, Rambam says, what's the connection between Masechet Makkot and Masechet Sanhedrin? The connection is because this is part of judicial authority, punishment administered by the judiciary. That's the common thread. But here we see that what is the common thread between Masechet Makkot and Masechet Sanhedrin? That at the end of Masechet Sanhedrin, you had a discussion of Edim Zomemim, and in the beginning of Masechet Makkot, you have a discussion of Edim Zomemim. That's the common thread. This is a question that's asked against Harambam. So what would Harambam say? And this is from my father, so I mentioned my father's name, and I think it's really brilliant. What my father says is as follows. What does Masechet Makkot deal with? It deals with Edim Zomemim, or it deals with Makkot? What's the main theme of Masechet Makkot? Makkot, right? It's true, Edim Zomemim is brought because that's an example of people who get Makkot. But the Masechet is Masechet Makkot, not Masechet Edim Zomemim. So when Rambam is trying to draw a thread, he's not going to draw a thread because there happened to have been a discussion of Edim Zomemim there, and there happens to be a discussion of Edim Zomemim here. No, rather look at the big picture. We're dealing with judicial punishments there, which is the authority of the judiciary. We're dealing with judicial punishments here, also the authority of the judiciary, and that's an overarching theme that connects the two Masechtot in a much more beautiful way. I'm explaining to you Shitat Rambam because I always advocate in his favor because people ask questions, and sometimes in my humble opinion, the questions are, well, if you look at it and you try to unravel things just a little, then you see the questions have answers, or maybe shouldn't have been asked. But either way, that's what I want to bring to you. Next, I see it's 9:30. Beautiful. We study Torah. Next week we will continue. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Rabbi Dweck and Jordan. Very nice to see you guys, and all the best. Shalom.